Welcome to Paranormal Northwest, a podcast all about the history and the paranormal of the Pacific Northwest. Join me as I tell stories of this great region, the history, the people who live here, and those who may have never left. Today we're visiting Portland, Oregon, the city the rest of Oregon is judged upon has a fascinating history and lore, within or specifically underneath. This city on the river lay one of the Pacific Northwest's most intriguing remnants of the past, the Shanghai Tunnels. So grab your sweater, your blanket, and a cup of tea, and let's get started. The Shanghai Tunnels in Portland, Oregon constitute an intriguing network of underground passages with a controversial historical backdrop. These tunnels, situated beneath the city, are linked to tales of shanghaiing, which is an illicit practice of kidnapping individuals, often sailors, for forced labor aboard ships. Dating back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the tunnels have become a subject of debate among historians and the locals. While some believe in the shanghaiing narrative, limited historical evidence and alternative theories add layers of mystery to the true purpose of these enigmatic underground passages. Today, guided tours offer a glimpse into this fascinating chapter of Portland's history, contributing to the city's cultural identity and sparking ongoing curiosity about the Shanghai Tunnels. Portland, Oregon has a rich and diverse history that spans centuries, shaped by Indigenous peoples, pioneers, economic development, and cultural evolutions. The Indigenous history of the region where Portland now sits is deeply rooted and spans millennia. Prior to European American settlers' arrival, this area was home to a rich tapestry of Indigenous cultures, each with its own unique traditions, languages, and ways of life. The Multnomah, Clackamas, and Chinook tribes were among the Indigenous peoples who inhabited this region for thousands of years. These communities had intricate relationships with the land, relying on its resources for sustenance, cultural practices, and spiritual connections. The Columbia River, a prominent geographical feature, played a central role in shaping their way of life. Abundant natural resources, particularly the bountiful fish populations in the Columbia River, were essential to the Indigenous peoples of the region. Salmon in particular held immense cultural and economic significance, and still does to this day. The annual salmon runs supported not only the physical well-being of the communities, but also played a crucial role in their cultural and ceremonial practices. Fishing technologies and methods were developed and passed down through generations, showcasing the deep connection between the people and their environment. The land provided more than just sustenance, though. It served as a source of materials for tools, clothing, and shelter. Indigenous communities practiced sustainable land management, ensuring that their reliance on natural resources did not deplete the environment. The landscape was also intricately woven into their oral traditions, myths, and spiritual beliefs, creating a profound connection between the people and the land that exists to this day. This Indigenous history forms the foundational layer of Portland's narrative, a story that extends far beyond the city's modern development. Recognizing and honoring this rich heritage is crucial for understanding the complex history of the region and acknowledging the enduring contributions of the Indigenous peoples who shaped the land for countless generations. I can't talk about Portland or Oregon or the Columbia River without at least referencing the Lewis and Clark expedition, also known as the Corps of Discovery. In 1805, the Lewis and Clark expedition, led by Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, reached the Pacific Northwest, marking the first recorded visit by European Americans to the region. This exploration played a pivotal role in the subsequent westward expansion of the United States. And for now, that's all I'm saying about those two, because I have a whole big episode planned on that is in the works. So now we're moving to the Oregon Trail and pioneer settlement. In the mid-19th century, the Oregon Trail emerged as a crucial route for pioneers seeking new opportunities and a better life in the vast expanse of the American West. As part of the larger westward migration movement, groups of settlers embarked on the arduous journey along the Oregon Trail, and their arrival in the Pacific Northwest played a pivotal role in shaping the future city of Portland. In 1843, a group of pioneers led by Asa Lovejoy and Francis Pettigrove arrived in the area that would become Portland. Seeking to establish a community at the end of the Oregon Trail, these settlers selected a site on the west bank of the Willamette River. This location, known as the clearing due to the absence of dense vegetation, marked the beginning of what we would later call Portland. The settlers quickly recognized the strategic advantages of the site. The Willamette River provided access to transportation and trade routes, while the surrounding landscape offered fertile land for agriculture. The establishment of the clearing laid the groundwork for a burgeoning community, and its potential as a hub for commerce and development became increasingly apparent. As the settlement grew, it acquired the nicknames Stumptown and the Clearing. The former reflected the rapid deforestation and clearing of trees to make way for the expanding town, leaving behind numerous tree stumps. It's also a really good brand of coffee. The latter, the clearing, highlighted the open landscape chosen by the settlers for their new community. In 1848, Portland was officially incorporated as a city, formalizing its status as a key center in the Pacific Northwest. The Oregon Trail had not only facilitated the arrival of pioneers, but also played a crucial role in determining the city's location and early development. Portland's roots as a strategic outpost for westward expansion and its connection to the broader narrative of American migration contribute to the city's historical significance and unique character. The founding of Portland in 1845 by Asa Lovejoy and Francis Pettygrove is a tale that combines chance, history, and a touch of whimsy. Standing on the west bank of the Willamette River, Lovejoy and Pettygrove envisioned a settlement that would eventually become one of the most significant cities in the Pacific Northwest. The unique aspect of Portland's naming story lies in the famous coin toss between Lovejoy and Pettygrove to determine the town's name. Each man had his own preferred name. Lovejoy favored Boston, while Pettygrove leaned towards Portland after his hometown in Maine. Unable to reach a consensus, they decided to leave it to chance. In a now iconic coin toss, Pettygrove emerged victorious, and the town was officially named Portland. This coin toss, a seemingly trivial event, forever shaped the identity of the city. Portland, Oregon, took its name from Pettygrove's hometown on the East Coast, and this serendipitous decision forged a connection between the two cities separated by thousands of miles. The city's formal incorporation in 1848 marked a key milestone in its history. Portland's strategic location along the Willamette River and its proximity to the Columbia River contributed to its early growth and emergence as a vital trading and transportation hub in the region. The decision-making process behind Portland's name reflects the spirit of the times, a time of exploration, settlement, and the forging of new communities in the American West. Today, the coin toss and the naming of Portland stand as a quirky and endearing chapter in the city's history, reminding residents and visitors alike of the blend of chance and deliberate choices that have shaped this vibrant metropolis over the years. Portland's strategic location along the Willamette and Columbia rivers contributed to this economic growth. Through that, the city became a major port and transportation hub, attracting industries such as lumber, shipping, and trade. The Shanghai Tunnels, often associated with illicit activities, are part of this maritime history. So the Portland maritime and shipping history is deeply intertwined with the city's economic development and geographical advantages. When you look at the three major cities in the Pacific Northwest, Portland, Seattle, and Tacoma, they all lie on major and convenient waterways. So Portland, nestled along the Willamette and Columbia rivers, has been a crucial hub for trade and transportation since its founding. In the 19th century, Portland evolved from a small lumber town to a bustling port due to its strategic location. The rivers provided a natural conduit for goods, and Portland's growth was further fueled by the arrival of the Transcontinental Railroad in the late 1800s, connecting the city to the rest of the country. If you're interested on hearing more about the Transcontinental Railroad and how it helped Oregon and Washington State grow, then listen to the episode on the Benson Hotel, because I did a deep dive on the Transcontinental Railroad. It's still probably one of my favorite episodes. But anyway, back to Portland. Shipping also played, and still does, play a pivotal role in the expansion of the city of Portland, with vessels navigating the rivers to transport lumber, wheat, and other commodities that were just needed. The city's waterfront became a bustling center of commerce, attracting sailors, traders, and other entrepreneurs. During the maritime heyday, Portland's significance extended beyond regional trade. The city's thriving shipping industry facilitated connections to international markets, contributing to its status as a vital West Coast port. This dynamic maritime activity also set the stage for the lore surrounding the Shanghai Tunnels, as the bustling waterfront became a backdrop for tales of shanghaiing, which again is the illicit practice of coercing sailors, sometimes even just kidnapping them, into involuntary servitude. While the nature of Portland's maritime activities has evolved over the years, its historical connection to shipping remains evident. The echoes of this bygone era linger along the waterfront, and again, the Shanghai Tunnels serve as a tangible artifact, preserving this maritime legacy of a city shaped by its strategic location and economic aspirations. The alleged practice of shanghaiing sailors in the late 19th and early 20th centuries was a dark chapter in maritime history, marked by the coercion, deception, and often forced recruitment of individuals into seafaring work. The term shanghaiing originates from the practice of kidnapping individuals, often sailors, and again, compelling or forcing them onto these ships. They would often be headed to ports such as Shanghai, hence the term. So during this time, port cities, not just Portland, but all the port cities that were bustling maritime activities, had a huge sailor population. So people who maybe couldn't get jobs doing other things became sailors, and they were lured by the promise of employment and adventure, and they would just post up on the waterfront looking for jobs. So you had people who took advantage of these other people who were trying to be sailors or who were sailors, and they would often trick them into just getting in ships unknowingly. One common method, which is very nefarious, involved drugging or intoxicating unsuspecting patrons in saloons or boarding houses along the wharfs. Once incapacitated, these individuals were transported to waiting ships through secret passages or tunnels, such as the infamous Shanghai Tunnels. In other cases, individuals were just outright kidnapped off the streets and sold to ship captains who were in need of crew members. Once aboard the ships, these victims or unwanted sailors faced the harsh realities of maritime life, enduring grueling work conditions, harsh discipline, and extended periods at sea. Escape was often difficult, as they were far from home and held under the control of the ship's crew. And often these people were immigrants themselves, many from Scandinavia, and they didn't speak English. The alleged prevalence of shanghaiing has become part of the lore surrounding the maritime history of Portland and other active port cities that dealt at that time. While the historical evidence regarding the extent of shanghaiing remains somewhat limited and debated, the stories and legends persist, which contribute to the mystique of a bygone era of seafaring and exploration. The Shanghai Tunnels in Portland comprise an intricate network of underground passages shrouded in historical intrigue. These subterranean pathways are said to weave beneath the city, connecting various locations with a mysterious and controversial past. The tunnels, often accessed through hidden entrances in basements or beneath buildings, wind beneath the streets of Old Town and Chinatown in downtown Portland. While the exact extent of the tunnel network is a subject of speculation, they are believed to link saloons, hotels, and businesses that were active during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Constructed from a variety of materials, including brick and wood, the tunnels exhibit an architectural snapshot of the era in which they were created. These underground passages were reportedly used for a range of purposes, from legitimate transportation of goods to the illicit activities associated with shanghaiing. Today, visitors can explore sections of the Shanghai Tunnels on guided tours, offering a glimpse into this hidden realm beneath the city's streets. As they traverse these dimly lit passages, adorned with remnants of the past, visitors can contemplate the enigmatic history and lingering echoes of a time when these tunnels played a role in the complex and controversial maritime activities of Portland's past. The theory of Shanghaiing surrounding the Shanghai Tunnels in Portland, Oregon is accompanied by limited historical evidence, which just adds an air of uncertainty and curiosity to the narrative. While numerous accounts and anecdotes exist, the concrete documentation that validates the widespread practice of Shanghaiing is sparse. Historical records from the late 19th and early 20th centuries often lack explicit references to the Shanghai Tunnels in lieu of immigrants or of illegal immigrant recruits. The nature of the underground activities during this period makes it challenging to find conclusive evidence that actually links the tunnels to these Shanghaiing operations. Additionally, the term Shanghai Tunnels itself is a relatively modern distinction, with historical documents may not specifically reference it by this name. Some argue that the stories surrounding Shanghaiing in these tunnels might have been embellished or convoluted with the broader history of Portland's maritime activities. Skeptics point to the absence of these official records, legal proceedings, or detailed first-hand accounts that definitively tie the tunnels to Shanghaiing practices. This lack of concrete evidence has fueled debates amongst historians, prompting some to question the validity of the Shanghaiing narrative associated with the Shanghai Tunnels. In essence, while the lore of Shanghaiing in the tunnels persists, the historical record raises questions about the extent to which these subterranean passages were actively involved in the illicit recruitment of sailors during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. I don't know if you're getting tired of me saying the word Shanghaiing, but I'm still going to say it a few more times, so please bear with me. So now we're going to look at some alternative theories as to what the tunnels that are there were used of if they weren't used to drug and kidnap and move unwitting sailors around the city. So these somewhat do have historical significance and documentation to back them up. So one alternative theory is that the tunnels were primarily used for legitimate business purposes that were related to transportation and storage. It posits that the passages facilitated the movement of goods between businesses and warehouses in an area when subterranean infrastructure was common for purely logistical reasons. Another, more fun theory is that the Shanghai Tunnels may have played a role in smuggling activities during the Prohibition era. It's hard to believe at some point that beer was illegal in Portland, but it was. Now, you would never know. But these clandestine transportation of alcohol and other contraband goods through the hidden passageways could have been a more covert function of the tunnels that were already there. Some argue also that the tunnels served as an emergency escape route during times of crisis or conflict. The theory suggests that the interconnected network between the city could have provided a discrete means for individuals to navigate and exit the area in times of danger. They also could have been utilitarian. Maybe another perspective suggests that the tunnels were utilitarian extensions of businesses, serving as conduits for utilities such as water, steam, or electricity. This theory focuses on the practical aspects of the tunnel's construction and how they may have supported the infrastructure needs of establishments above ground. There's also the theory that the tunnels had civil engineering purposes, which goes hand in hand with them being utilitarian, which possibly contributed to the drainage systems in the city. This pragmatic view suggests that the tunnels played a role in managing water runoff and mitigating flooding risks in the low-lying areas of Portland. You know, I-5 is like 10 million feet above the water line in Portland, so if you've ever driven through, it's slightly terrifying, but it makes sense. By exploring these alternative theories, it highlights the complexity of interpreting historical spaces like the Shanghai Tunnels. While Shanghaiing is a compelling narrative, considering these diverse perspectives allows for a more nuanced understanding of the tunnel's multifaceted history. So let's look into some of the more fun aspects of the Shanghai Tunnels. there's that skepticism, right? That historical skepticism that historians don't have much documentation, really. So the emphasis that the tunnels were used for totally nefarious purposes could be, but then again, there's nothing to document. I mean, even Al Capone had meticulous records. That's how he got caught for tax evasion, right? So the perspective calls for a more critical examination of the stories surrounding the Shanghai Tunnels, Shanghaiing within the tunnels, and just a cautious approach to accepting them as a historical fact. There's also the viewpoint that the Shanghai Tunnels are repositories of cultural lore and urban legends rather than strictly historical artifacts. This perspective acknowledges that the stories associated with the tunnels might have evolved over time, blending fact with fiction to create a captivating narrative that contributes to the mystique of Portland's history. Now, the rise of guided tours and cultural tourism has also benefited the Shanghai Tunnels and many businesses greatly. People don't want to go wander around for hours in, water tunnels that could potentially be flooded and are just for civil engineering purposes. So, it's a bit more fun to imagine that, there was some shady shit happening in those tunnels. They are still a very important part of Portland and part of the mystique, and they are part of what keeps Portland weird. So now, on to paranormal activity in the Shanghai Tunnels. The concept of paranormal activity in and around the Shanghai Tunnels adds to an extra layer or nuance to the mystique, to the already enigmatic history of these underground passages in Portland. It's essential to note that claims of paranormal occurrences are often rooted in folklore, urban legends, and personal anecdotes. And there's no scientific evidence to support these, but nevertheless, stories persist, and they contribute to the allure of the Shanghai Tunnels. So ghostly apparitions have been spotted. So some of these recount sightings of ghosts within the Shanghai Tunnels. Witnesses claim to have seen shadowy figures or heard mysterious footsteps, attributing these occurrences to the spirits of those who may have experienced hardship or tragedy in the tunnels. There's also been numerous evidence of residual energy, with some of those experiencing what they feel are past traumatic experiences, which just ties into the lore within the tunnels. It's also noted that people tend to have those experiences when they are around water. Again, Portland has a lot of water. This is actually words are hard sometimes. Just bear with me. If you've gotten this far, just bear with me. People have been hearing voices. That's weird. Does that coming from the water, right? So visitors and tour guides have reported hearing voices, whispers, or disembodied sounds within the tunnels. So this auditory phenomena is often linked to somewhat of that residual energy. I couldn't find anything where people have had an intelligent reaction for voices or whispers. It just, if you're going with the residual haunt versus an intelligent haunt, it seems to be more residual. They've also experienced many cold spots where the temperature drops dramatically, and those are frequently mentioned when people talk about paranormal activity within the Shanghai Tunnels. But again, it's cold underground. I mean, yeah. Sometimes people also just feel weird, right? They just get unusual sensations, or they experience strong emotions when they're in the Shanghai Tunnels. So these can range from feelings of unease and discomfort to a sense of even being watched. And they again attribute this to the supposed trauma within the tunnels. People have also taken pictures that they believe have had orbs in them, or just unexplained light anomalies, which skeptics often attribute to dust, moisture, or camera artifacts, or something being wrong with the camera. But Many people do attribute them to paranormal activity. Very few of these accounts, though, have described interactions with unseen entities or spirits within the tunnels. These have included feelings of being touched, again, hearing audible responses to questions, or just experiencing something that you can't explain. It's important to approach these stories with a critical mindset, recognizing that personal beliefs, cultural influences, and the thrill of exploring mysterious spaces can contribute to perceptions of paranormal activity. While the Shanghai Tunnels hold a fascinating history, claims that the paranormal should be considered within the context of local legends, folklore, and the broader fascination with the unknown. Regardless, still on my bucket list, and I would love to hear if you've experienced the Shanghai Tunnels or if you know any more lore about them. I couldn't find many specific instances of paranormal activity, which is why everything I said was kind of broad. But I hope you enjoyed this and the deep dive into Portland and the maritime history. Until next time, bye.